I haven't presented since like college, so anyways, my name is Dustin, and today I will be presenting the topic of kinetic typography. And the font I'm using, or the typeface I'm using in this presentation is indeed Futura. Anyways, who is Dustin? Who am I? What relevance do I have here? Why? On social media, I go by the name Asian Industries. Just a name I came up with years ago. I was thinking of random names to come up with. So I don't post anything personally on social media. I just post myself, and everything's hidden by like a doppelganger, I guess. And I came up with this name, Vision Industries. I just took the V off, and it sounds cool, and it wasn't taken. I got my start in creative work in 2014 when I moved to Grand Rapids. I was doing video editing, videography. When I moved there, I met up with some DJs that owned a record label out there, and I did videography for them, and I edited their videos. And over the course of working with that label, I had to work on stuff for the music releases. So the first animation I made was an audio visualizer, and then after that, I just started making stuff, and I had no friends, so I just started making things. So after 2014, I met the record label. I started audio visualizers, and that was simple. Then I worked on the promo videos, and after a while of making promo videos for the DJs, I kind of got bored of doing that, so I took more time studying After Effects. All these animations are made in After Effects, by the way. I just locked myself in the room after work, and I just learned stuff. And so after the record label stuff, I started making like templates for After Effects and presets for After Effects. And then in 2019, we'll get to that, in December of 2019 is when I started working on kinetic typography. And those shapes you see, those are Lottie animations. I made those. 2019 was kinetic typography and stuff like that. And 2020 was Lottie animations. And those are UI, UX animations for websites and mobile apps. And here's some more animations. On the Lottie file site, I uploaded, in like 4 years, I uploaded over 130 animations, and I have 16,000 downloads. So I was very busy for like 4 years. That brings me to the demo festival in 2019. The demo means Design in Motion. It's a festival in summer of 2019. Some creative studios out in the Netherlands decided to take over Amsterdam Central Station for a day. They have 80 screens and just featured a bunch of motion designers. I submitted some stuff to this festival. It didn't get picked, but you'll see my submissions later on in this presentation. The premise of this festival for the submissions was supposed to be heavily focused on typography. As you can see, there's a lot of really good designers here. I didn't get selected, but it was fun making stuff, and with the idea of submitting it, not knowing I'd be selected or not. So what is kinetic typography? Kinetic typography is characterized by motion, so moving text. Kinetic typography is expressive, bold, any adjectives you want to use, you can slap on it. But kinetic typography is moving text. It's the art of moving typography. In today's presentation, I have 5 categories I'll go over today: glitch, smears, faux 3D, isometric, and squash and stretch. So glitch, I'll start with glitch first. It's the easiest, and for animation purposes, it's the easiest, in my opinion, to make. And this project, I walked down to the studio. I was living in Grand Rapids. I would walk downtown, which is like an hour walk for me. I walked downtown. I forgot my hard drive at home, so I didn't have any files with me. And so I just sat and worked on a glitch thing from the things I've learned over the years. And it's very simple. I just chose simulation as the text because it makes sense. And the typeface I use for this animation is called Divas Nui or Nuewe. I googled it, but I butchered it. And here's another one. This is one of the animations I submitted to that demo festival. It was typography focused, but I didn't know what to say, so I wanted to say something that people can relate to. Like, oh yeah, we are living in a simulation. This is fun, the transitions and stuff. This typeface I'm using for this animation is called Typo Hoop. All of these were made in the summer of 2019, and I had a addiction to rounded, bold typefaces during that time frame, and that was like trendy during that year. Now, I'm going on to smears. This, one of the animation principles for animation is smears, and this is a little bit more difficult than glitch, because you have to animate each letter individually, and the one on the right, I animated each letter individually, and there are some effects on it to give it the smeary look. And the typeface for animation, the animation on the right is called Anja Elaine. The one on the left, Typography Sundays, I made that in 2020. Fun fact, I was working on this on a Sunday, and I wanted to dedicate my Sundays to learning typography and just experimenting with animated typography. And during that day, the security for the studio told me to leave, and this is the start of the lockdown in 2020, so I didn't get to actually work on anything for Typography Sundays. That was just a little thing I wanted to learn. The next category I'm going to talk about is Photo 3D. Here's the static example on the left, and then an animated example on the right. This was made in After Effects using a 3D camera, so in a sense it's 3D, but it doesn't look like real 3D. This is fun to make. This is kind of trendy to make in the summer of 2019. Everything was big, bold, and in your face, and with the shadows mixed in there, it kind of makes it look nice. Makes it look cool. And it was cool because during that year, I was walking around Grand Rapids and there was a billboard with a design with that same style of typography. So it was cool to see something, learn something online, and see it used in the wild. Here's some more Photo 3D examples. These are two other examples, two other animations I submitted to that demo festival. I don't really like them now, but everything was, during that time frame, everything was bright, vibrant colors, big and bold, and I wanted to just say something that was TikTok trendy. I was uploading to TikTok then too. This typeface used in this animation is Typo Hoop. And now I'm going on to isometric. This is a little more hands-on than some of the other animations. I took the fall of 2019 to learn Illustrator. I didn't know how to use Illustrator, so I just dove in and I wanted to learn the basics of isometric design. I saw it online, and it piqued my interest. I just didn't know how to make it. Here's some different layouts for the isometric design. I'm not good at math, but the math on how to make this design was fun to me. Here's another layout. I don't know, it's very fun to learn making this stuff. And I made this one in 2020. I was learning, so yeah, I'm sorry, I'm losing it. When I make typography animations, I wanted to say something that's kind of like relevant. I don't want to say something that's like blah or something random. So yes, and the last category I'm going to talk about for animated typography is squash and stretch. And this is another animation principle, one of the animation principles. this was really trendy in 2019. The one on the left, there's a studio in Grand Rapids that had events like this, like block parties and community events, and I wanted to make them a video, and I just kind of put block party together, and the one on the left, I animated the X and Y axis of the full word, and by layering like that, it kind of looks like a square animating. I never submitted to them, but I should have. And the one on the right is animating the X and Y axis of each individual letter. That was very hands-on because I had to convert the text into After Effects to shapes, and I had to use the anchor points to animate each letter. It's very time-consuming, but it's very fun. And then Easter egg, this one is very fun, variable fonts. I saw this in 2019. My only tool I used in 2019 for animation was After Effects. So I wanted to learn how to make that in After Effects, and it was hand animated. I had to convert the text to shapes and animate the anchor points. And it's very time consuming, but the end result is very, very cool. If you can see the X there's a little mishap with the X. It's why you can tell it's hand animated, because I had to match up the anchor points. And then after I made this, After Effects implemented a tool where you can just use a slider to animate it. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Awesome. So, do you have any questions or anything that you want answered from the audience for feedback, or you just want like general?
Just general questions.
Okay.
These are from like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not actively working on any creative projects now. I moved here like 4 years ago, and that kind of derailed everything. I moved here with no friends. I thought it'd be a good idea to move here with no friends. I had projects. When the projects dried up, I have no friends. So just general questions or whatever you guys want to ask, it's okay.
Okay, well, you got a bunch of friends now, so.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to share their thoughts on Dustin's work and his animation? It looks like I kind of know what After Effects is, but all what are those called? The little keys.
Keyframes.
Oh, I hate keyframes. Okay.
That's the best part.
They're horrible. Oh, where are we going? Oh, Casey.
Hello.
Hi.
First off, I want to say there's some really great animations in there. I'm really impressed.
Thank you.
As someone who is also really into this sort of like moving type, even if it doesn't really come up in the things that I make, I really like the style of kinetic typography. So I just wanted to ask, how did you get started with this? Would you have any tips for somebody who would want to start making little kinetic typography things like this?
Good question. That demo festival, that slide I pulled up, that was my start to kinetic typography, since the premise for the submissions was supposed to be typography based. And I watched tutorials on YouTube, and after I watch a tutorial, I don't publish the stuff because someone already made it. I do it to learn the technique. And after watching so many tutorials, you learn the techniques and you can build things. So I got started with kinetic typography with the demo festival. But for anybody that's wanting to get started, just find something you like online, watch a tutorial, and just learn how to make it. And just begin. It's easy to want to set up a project, but it's hard to start. You know what I mean? Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got one there? Michael? Okay. All right, and then after Michael, I'll go, because there's one I really like. I want to go. Oh, okay. Can you go back to one of your first examples for the kinetic that you did? I think it might have been the first one. It was go to your, I think it was the first glitch.
Okay.
Yeah, go to your glitch. Okay, this one. Okay. Now, when you start doing this process, do you just jump into it not knowing what's happening, or do you kind of understand that you want to get to this point, and so you kind of develop a plan to get there?
Good question. I didn't go to school for any design stuff. I just learned this stuff on my own. I was going to business school at the time. I hated this stuff I was learning. So once I learned motion graphics, I just became really passionate, and I spent all my time learning it. That being said, I never, what's the style frames? I never outlined stuff. I never read out style frames. It's just like stuck in my head. That's probably why I have bad sleep now, because everything was stuck in my head, and I just thought about it when I was trying to sleep. So I had a vision in my head, and I would see something online, and I would get a vision in my head, and it would kill me because the thing I'd make would not turn out the thing like it's coming in my head, and it would kill me. But yeah, everything was up here, and
Yeah, well, you do beautiful work. I pointed this out in particular because I'm a big lover of negative space, and I really like how you start pulling the negative space out of these letters at the beginning, and then they pop into that positive space there. But yeah, I just wanted to see what your process was. I like your work.
Thank you so much.
No, again, this is beautiful work. And by the way, you want to know how you pronounce the N-E-U-E?
Yeah.
It's actually Noya.
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 Couldn't pronounce it wrong.
Knew we sound better.
Yes. Your work is incredible, and the fact that you took this on, now there's I think it's the Monkey suite of After Effects plugins that does kinetic type. The fact that you actually took it on to actually do it from the ground up and just did it the way you wanted to do it is amazing. The one thing that would definitely knock me out, I love the way you scatter everything, especially in this as well. I see a lot of like horizontal and vertical, but nothing turning or even 3D. That would be, that dimension could be the next, you could take all of this and take it a lot further as well. So I still think you have a lot of work in this area that you could be doing. And are you still interested in this type of work?
I don't know. When I moved here, I'll be quick with everything. When I moved here, I had all these projects in my head. I had client projects I was working on. I had momentum, and I got sick before I moved here. So when I moved here, it was just a bigger thing that I had planned. So it derailed me. Once I lost that momentum, it was kind of hard. I don't know how to get back into it. I know how to animate these things, but I kind of don't want to. But I want to get back into it, but I don't know what I want to do right now.
Yeah. And were you saying that you were making the body files because they have those little stickers that you can put online, and stickers for like TikTok and different things that you can upload. Have you ever thought about doing any of those?
I have. I don't know if I want to do Lottie anymore.
Okay.
That's why I'm glad to come into this community and see other presenters and meet community people like you guys to get some new perspective, to get some motivation, some new energy. Because I never thought that momentum can stop. You know what I mean? When you're going with projects, you're working with clients, everything's just going, and ADHD was just going hard. And yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling.
Okay, all good. You did amazing.
Thank you so much.
This is a very special night. Not only is Devin was here last week, he's also my student. And I can't believe that this journey for me as an educator, I actually have one of my students who came to me and said he wanted to be a bigger part of this. So I'm very excited to have this. He is an educator as well. He's a photographer, and he's going to be sharing his insights about yearbook layout design, which I'm very excited to hear about, because The last time I thought about yearbook was when I was in high school, when I was actually doing it. Devin Adams, please.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me here tonight. Michael and everybody, thanks so much. Before I really get into this, the first thing I just want to say real quickly, print is not dead. It's not. Even in our world currently today, with the proliferation of displays and tech and all of the digital arts that we all present about and talk about all the time, and all the things that are very important to us, print is also important. And look over here. We have all these beautiful different books, passion books. We have Newton's Sumo over there as well. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit. Again, Michael said I was here a month ago, and my daughter Claire and I were here, and we were talking with Jeremy, one of the presenters, about storytelling and how important storytelling is. And so we were driving home, and I said I would really be interested in this. And my daughter was like, well, we should have this conversation about storytelling and type and telling these stories. But why is it that I am up here and maybe not one of the other people out there? And I do encourage you to perhaps get up here in the future and take that risk like our friend just did. And so a little bit about me. My name is Devin Adams. I've been an educator in the Valley for 27 years. I've been a photographer my entire life. I've always been around photography. I mean, even to the point where I was 2 years old, and there's a photo floating around somewhere in my family where my mom was out, we were camping in the Rocky Mountains, and my mom was running around taking pictures of the experience. We were out there for a whole month. And so I had this picture somewhere, I couldn't find it, where I'm holding up a rock covered in dust and dirt because I've been in the Rockies for a month, living in a tent, and bleached blonde hair, and I had this rock up to my face pretending it was a camera. And so I've been in photography for my entire life. And so as an educator, I've taught English. I still teach, I adjunct, that's why I take classes in design, because they're practically free to me and I love learning about this stuff. But I've been teaching in Maricopa County Community College District for 20 years, and I've been teaching in high school in the East Valley for 27 years. So I've been doing this this is just my passion. I've been a professional photographer for 13 years, and I'm just never going to stop with this stuff. My first yearbook that I was on staff, it was 1989, and no, I was not the teacher. I was actually a freshman in high school, and I walked in because I've always been a visual artist. I've always been a writer. And I walked into the staff, and Michael and I were talking about this last week. Back in the day, we developed the film black and white photos, and then we used the grease pencils to crop out the photos. I don't know if anybody else was on the staff back in the day. My first book, where I was the advisor, I just finished student teaching in '99. Administrator comes to me and says, hey, ever do a yearbook? We need an advisor right now. Well, you know that when you're trying to get a job right out of college, you say yes to everything no matter what, and then you go figure it out. So that's what I did. I have pretty much been a full-time yearbook advisor since 2005, and prior to that, off and on, since '99. So why yearbook? Why do we care about yearbook? I don't know how your yearbook experiences went when you were in school, but I remember some yearbooks were like memory books. You have all the little people doing peace signs in the 70s, some in the 80s, who knows, different gestures, different generations. And then you have other books that are quite a bit more robust. And I don't think that a lot of people really understand exactly what goes in the yearbook, true, powerful yearbook messages and the stories that we tell in yearbook. I'm currently in East Valley High School, public high school. We have approximately 2,300 students. The book that we published is approximately 280 pages, give or take, depending on the year. I have a staff of 24 to 27 students, 4 of whom are back there, including the editor-in-chief and art director. And we create a yearbook that has one singular voice for the entire school, and that's important to us. So the process, and a lot of people don't really understand the process of the yearbook. They think we start at the beginning of the school year, we work in it all year, here and there, it's fun, people run around, we make a lot of phone calls, we annoy a lot of teachers, sorry everyone. And so what we're looking at doing with this is the beginning, we start in the springtime, okay? And in the springtime, we start talking about next year's book. This is 14 months before the book comes out. And so we go through and we start talking about it, and we're trying to figure out what we're gonna do, what's the vibe of the year, what is the theme of the year. If you have a yearbook out there that maybe you went to that school and the theme was something like your journey, and then you put a parenthesis around the OUR, don't do that. 2020 vision, don't do that, okay? We're coming up on our 20th anniversary book next year, it's gonna be great. But in the summertime, we spend time, we go to yearbook camp in Colorado, and it's great. It's a week where we really get in and focus. What is the design of the book? What is the typeface of the book? What are the colors of the book? What do we want to say in the book? And in the fall, we start working on pages. We get draft pages, and we bring an expert in, and she sits down, and we put pages up all over our whiteboard, and she tells us why they all suck, and we should start changing everything. And then we punt. So, yearbook is all about storytelling. It's all about telling the story of the book and figuring out ways to design the book for that story. So what I'm going to delineate a little bit here today is I'm going to talk about our last 5 books. And I'm just going to hint at this book coming up. Right after COVID, you know, everybody pivoted, the world changed, community, culture, education changed. And so we put out a book, and the tagline for our theme was Changing Perspective. And it was all about, what are we gonna do now? What's coming up? And you know, everybody was shocked because of the pandemic and everything. So we put out Changing Perspective. And then we moved on from there. We're gonna talk a little bit about those different books and kind of how we use typeface, as well as other design elements to get across whatever the message of the year might be. So that year we used Urbano, and it's very sans serif, very kind of stable font. It has a lot of structure to it, but we paired it with a font called Sunday Best that you can see behind me in the primary red cover title there, as well as on the spine. The left vertical, that's the spine of the book, okay, just so you know what we're looking at here. And the adjectives and tones of that typeface were very hopeful, very balanced, intentional, yet playful. We had a hope for the future, but we weren't sure what that hope was yet, because we were just coming out of a pandemic. A lot of people were still at home. A lot of people were still scared. A lot of people were very safe, like me. And then, George Floyd is murdered. And we're at the end of the year, and all of a sudden, everything culturally shifts, especially when it comes to human rights in the US as well as around the world. And we people here in this kind of community really need to start taking a look at our fellow citizens, the people that we care about in our schools and our communities. What we decided at that point in time is, 1, where are we in this moment and what's happening right now? 2, we use function, just function. And we use all the different weights in function, because what we were trying to do is we were trying to create a unification, a unity within the variation of the font weights themselves, rather than trying to pair it with something to do some sort of contrast or tell some sort of story. We want to be right here, right now, in this moment. And if you see this cover, and if you were to see the book itself, you will see there are a lot of photos and stories that tell the stories of women. I mean, you look at my dominant picture of 3 girls running through the rain the first day of school. That never happens, and it happened that year. As well as a lot of BIPOC people and community members, okay? In my yearbooks, I always look at the entire community and not just one portion of the community. And there's always those little nods to taking care of people and supporting people. So then, the next book, we were sitting around one day, my yearbook rep and I, and a couple students, editors and such, and we're saying, okay, what's gonna come next? And so what we did, one of the things that we like to do is we like to make sure that we contrast books. Not every year needs to look the same, not every year will look the same. So this is very different than the last book. Our school colors are red and black, so occasionally we go back to that, and we did this here. As most artists, love music. One of my favorite artists, singer, songwriter, Grace Slick. Okay, started Jefferson Airplane, pretty much ended her career Starship. She retired in the, about 94, 95. And she was actually playing a concert, and it was a day before I was going home from college, and I'm like, I should go home a day early and go. And I didn't, and then she announced her retirement within a few months. But one of the songs that I love of Starship is Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. So I went to that song, and I started looking at the lyrics, and my publishing rep was like, be careful, we don't want to get sued. And so we found, there's one line in there, what did they know? And so we took that and we're like, what do people know about our school? What do they think they know? What is the truth of what really happens? Okay? So we took Jaren Hand, which is, you know, a very kind of, I don't know, raw, kind of decorative script. And we just kind of wanted to kind of almost shove it in your face a bit. And we paired that with the kind of the authority of News Gothic and kind of that stability and kind of looking at that contrast between the two fonts. This book was the first book where I went to yearbook camp in Colorado. It was very well received. Everybody seemed to really like this book. And then we get to this one. And what we did with this book and with this font is we used Unitas, which is very modular type. It's very stackable. It's very architectural. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to look at the community within our schools. It's so me, individuals in the school. It's so you. It's so me. It's so you. Small groups, sports teams, clubs, small groups of people doing important things in the schools, and then it's so us, the whole community in general. And we used it in a very way in which we kind of stacked it and made a modular structure out of the book and let that book tell the story. I don't think the community was ready for this book. They really weren't. It's a very mature design to the book. In my opinion, a lot of students really didn't resonate. They were just kind of like, I don't understand this book. And I think maybe it kind of went over their heads a bit. Okay? So then we come to this. And yes, there's 2 color covers up there. And that was a crowd pleaser. A lot of people were like, wait, we got 2 different colors? And it was funny because when we handed out the book, we disseminated it at the beginning of May each year. And people were like, I want the orange one. No, I want the pink one. I want the orange one. And I have a small anecdote about that because as we were preparing for this book and sitting down and really talking about that, we were trying to figure out what was our pretty, what was our colors, what we were doing with the book. And so a colleague of mine at the time was sitting in the room, and he had a hat on with a patch on the front of the hat. And I don't know if you are familiar with the work of the graphic designer Aaron Drakeland out of Portland. Fantastic guy, look him up. But he created that patch, and it was a stack of bats. And inside that stack of bats in the black was highlights of that pink and that orange. And one of the students might even be in the room was like, there's our colors. And that became our color palette. But we needed, and we were talking about like the punk aesthetic, we were talking about the DIY aspects of punk and building zines and things in the 70s and 80s and into the 90s. And so we wanted something that was kind of really edgy, and so we picked permanent marker as the dominant font, but then we paired it with Leda. And what I like about Leda is I'm just a stickler for the sans serifs. I really don't like serifs. And I forced myself to use one this year. I'll get to that in a moment. But it also has that softness to it. So we took that, and it was very contrasting, the way that we used these fonts. This book, the reception of this book so far has been overwhelmingly positive. Some of the people who judge the books at the top level, because I don't know if you know this, but Yearbook has what essentially is the Academy Awards or Super Bowl of yearbooks too. We have the Columbia State Press Awards. We have the National Scholastic Press Awards, okay, for the yearbook. It's a very upper echelon of yearbooks, and the judges for that have seen this book. And they said, you need to submit this book. You need to submit this for everything. And we won't know till springtime, but you know, universe willing, hopefully we get some of those accolades. And we love this book. It's expressive, it's energetic. You know, we have that clean layout, and then we have that edgy, this rest can wait. We're here right now, we're here in this moment like that Here in the Moment book years ago, but It's more about slow down. We're here now. Let's work on what we're doing here. You know, these kids are like halfway out the door, senioritis and everything. We're like, no, let's pause for a second, because when you get out there, it's a whole different world. And so this book is up for lots of awards. This book just took home the State Award for Best of Show at the Arizona Scholastic Press Association, which is our state conference. And we'll see how it goes in the springtime when we go to the National High School Journalism Conference in Minneapolis. So we'll see. Now, I don't have anything for this next book because it's always under wraps. It's always a secret until it comes out, because we want it to be that big reveal. But I will tell you this about the typeface. What we did this year is we paired a Braille display, which is a serif font, big, it's fat, with Barlow, and a condensed Barlow with several different weights to it. And we've been working on this book non-stop. You can ask the staff members in the back of the room about how hard they have been working and how proud I am of the work they're doing. So our yearbooks are a visual capsule. I mean, I don't know about you, but I still have my high school books. Even the one that was in a flood, and even the one where my house burned down, the book still made, most of the book made it out of there. And so we still have those. I mean, I remember reading my mom's yearbook from when she was in high school a long time ago, and seeing those pictures and seeing that data and everything. When you create yearbooks and when you create the design of the yearbook and the pretty of the yearbook, that's what a friend of mine says. It's really all about balancing between the typeface, the colors, the theme package, and what you're trying to say and what you're trying to accomplish. So not only am I open for questions, but my question to you is, what are the letter forms and what are the typefaces that tell your story and the stories that you're trying to convey to the world around you? Thank you. And Michael here is with my publisher, which I just found out.
Yeah, I'm also a yearbook guy.
And he's a yearbook guy up in Mesa.
Yeah, over in Mesa. I feel your pain.
Okay. you feel their pain.
I feel their pain too. Yeah. I know what that's like. So we have a couple different things we can do, because we got your students here too, and they're part of this whole process. A yearbook is a beautiful way to record type, especially in that time frame, in that generation. So, do you guys want to start off with any questions, thoughts? You guys want to ask the students anything about how they process and how they deal with typography?
We had a question.
Oh, back here.
We have a mic for you. I keep forgetting to put it in my mouth.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to, it's not like exactly related to what you were talking about, but
Sure.
you said it. I'm just curious about your opposition to sans serifs.
I don't know. It's just a thing. I don't know. It feels cluttered to me. I'm much more of a minimalist. I mean, look at this PowerPoint. I mean, this is great. Look, it's just so straightforward. I mean, look. It's so clean. I don't know. It's just a thing. I don't know. What do you like? What's your font?
What's my favorite font?
Yeah.
Wingdings. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite font. I actually struggle with fonts.
Okay, so I'll be back here for the next Type Thursday in January, and let me know.
Okay, yeah.
You have 2 months to think about it.
Yeah. I do design, but I don't exactly, whenever I go and do it, when I get to the point where, oh no, I gotta put in the letters, it's just like, it's a wrench. And so I've learned a lot from this, so thanks.
Great, thanks for being here.
Yes. Devin, how do you source your fonts? Do you have a repository that you have to select from, or can you actually go outside of this and get other ones?
So that is a good question, because I used to do the yearbooks in InDesign, okay? And before that, PageMaker. I don't know if any of you remember PageMaker, but after work, right? Yeah, I had that. I think I illegally downloaded it. So the simple answer is all of our fonts now, because we have moved online since 2020 to proprietary software. I've shown it to you. It's called eDesign. It looks just like InDesign, but obviously way less robust, but it is robust. And so if you see my fonts on here where I, have them all here, the AHJ is the proprietary Unitas or whatever other font through Varsity Brand Yearbooks. So at this point in time, I use fonts from a very large collection from the company. Now, if we and when we use fonts that are outside of that for, say, titles, dominant titles, if we choose to use fonts outside that, we can do that, but then we have to create them in Adobe and then save them as PNGs, import them. It's a bit more arduous to do it that way, but there are definitely some advisors who do that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had to license any, if you did it outside of it. But
Yeah, and before, when I used InDesign, if there were any fonts that I ever wanted to use, they would license them, pay for them for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Fellow traveler here, started on the middle school yearbook.
Oh, good.
And I worked on my high school yearbook for 4 years. And this was the carbon paper and wax pencil era.
Yes.
Even into the newspaper was on Macs, but the yearbook was still on paper. So respect. And our yearbook, this is just an anecdote. Our yearbook was started, I think, in 1911, and it was called, or it's still called, The Mirror. Every year it's just The Mirror. So we don't have a change of a name. Quick question. Did you consider, maybe I should be directing it to the young faces here, did you consider hand lettering for some of those, hand fonts, especially for the interstitial pages and the covers where there's not a ton of lettering, 4 or 5 words? Run down to the art department and actually draw it with permanent marker. Did that come into the production workflow at all?
Yes, we have done that in the past. For example, we have something called Senior Spotlights. They're profiles of 10 seniors that we put in the book. And one example to answer one of your questions would be the 1 year what we did was we had them do all their own handwriting on the Senior Spotlights. And this was probably about a dozen years ago. But we didn't do it permanent marker and the scan. We actually did it on iPads with Apple Pencils and such. So yes, we have done that as well. Yeah. Mr. Anderson.
What are your thoughts on the Oxford comma?
It's a great song by Vampire Weekend. And we struggle with the Oxford comma all the time. So yes, we follow AP style and we do not have it, and we have had lots of conversations about that. Because until I really got into AP style, I use it all the time and I don't use it at all. When I see it, I'm like, something's extra here, we need to take it out.
Super fascinating work, by the way.
Thanks, Nathan.
I'm really curious to know how your process goes, though, of working on such a big file, like sharing goes. Like, do you section it off for the students to help on, or how does that go?
We have 280 pages in the yearbook, so we have a title page, we have a closing page, those are separate pages, the rest are 2-page spreads. And so we have 5 deadlines throughout the year, and the first deadline was October 31st. The final deadline is right before spring break, so sometime during the first week of March. And so what we do is we work kind of section by section of the book. It also has to do with what happens during that time of the year. Homecoming. If homecoming is later in the fall, it ends up being in the second deadline. If it's earlier, we move it to the first deadline. A really good tip is things that are like intro and things, do them at the end, because then you have the whole year in it, because this is the archival record of the year. So that's kind of how we section it down.
Are you, I imagine you're not all working on one file, though? Is it like split up?
It is split up. It's all through, it's all online now, so it's all cloud-based. But for example, Tay over there is the editor-in-chief with the glasses on in the back, and her partner would be working on a lot of the thematic pages and dividers and spreads in the book, while somebody else like Jude and Ava here in the middle sitting there, they're partners in yearbook, and they're designing, got spreads and pages that are inside the yearbook and various topics as we go through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask your students something?
Yeah?
All right. So, okay. So you guys, we've been talking about typography, and it's a very like abstract thing, especially in the high school level. One of you guys want to talk about your experience with kind of like learning how to apply this typography? Okay, come up here.
So this is Tay. She's the editor-in-chief this year. And I did not bribe them to come here. They signed up on their own.
Okay, I will say like it was really difficult picking fonts at first because I had no experience personally. So I had to get a lot of experience through like looking at things at like Barnes and Noble. We did a couple trips there where we would like look at fonts, see how they would look with each other. We played a lot with weights, and I think we changed the font like a lot.
Yes, we actually originally did have a serif. Last spring we had a serif built in, and over the summer it went away. It was Bozeman if you need to know.
So after a lot of playing around, it was just like mostly experience. And then after we messed around with a lot of fonts, we just found out what we liked slowly.
So do you guys get also like into kerning and lettering and all that kind of stuff, or you just set up styles in your in the e-design and stuff? What do you find what you like?
Yeah, we do learn about that, but for the most part, it's like all set up for us. We just need to really pick what looks good with each other.
Okay.
So when we're in yearbook camp, Rocky Mountain Journalism Camp in the summer at Fort Collins, what we do is we sit down and essentially I ask them, because I always really respect the leadership of the students, and I say, okay, does this look better or does that look better? Kind of like almost going to an eye doctor's appointment. She and I did this recently with some titles. I said, is this better or that better? Because we were looking at those weights and we were looking at that kerning, and then we asked a couple other people, including our design teacher, and came up with some ideas. So that's kind of how we've done that.
I want to ask the students here, have you read the copy that you're actually typesetting? Actually read it? So the actual copy that you put in the yearbook, do you read it?
They also write it too.
Okay, so they write it? Okay. The reason I ask that is, you would be surprised how many artists, and they do magazines, they do a lot of big productions, they do not read the copy. They just typeset it. And that is one of the most important things that I learned very early in my career, is to actually read the copy. And literally, like, you have to read through it because you have to know the tone of it, the rhythm of it, like if the font, that also determines like what the fonts and the characters are for it as well. So that's why I asked that. It seems like a really kind of, stupid question, but you'd be surprised how many people don't read it and actually typeset and just go, oh, whatever it is, it is. And because I find a lot of mistakes and a lot of punctuation mistakes, and even worse, find them when they're actually printed.
Yes, and they'll tell you when we do a soft deadline, which is kind of a rough draft. And I was telling Mike here this beforehand. I don't know if you've ever used a program called GoodNotes on an iPad, but I literally export the PDFs to that. I get those cheater glasses that old people wear when they're trying to read and see menus, and I already have a pair. And I get in there and I look, and I'm looking for extra spaces. I'm looking for, did you stick an Oxford comma in there? And I'm looking at that very, very closely and to get back to them and make them fix it. So we do work on that very carefully and closely. It's not just about all the pretty photos that some people just look at and turn the page.
All right, beautiful. Oh, we got another one.
Last question.
Another mic. Mic 3.
Okay, Mike. You have a mic, Mike. I have a mic too. Mike.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
What's kind of your approval process? Like, do you get a lot of pushback when you guys might have to pivot? Like, we have one idea and it looks classic high school of this is fun, and then some social injustice happens and we're like, well, let's get this out to the people.
So there's a couple different ways to answer this question. First of all, I'll tell you that for my students, for the student leadership, like Tay as the editor-in-chief and her managing editor is not here right now, I have always respected their autonomy, and I say, what do you want to do? And the only time that I say no is if I know it's wrong and I explain why it's wrong based off of my knowledge of AP style, journalism, typeface, etc., etc. Two, I am in a very conservative area, and with the politics in the U.S. right now, there are things that we will never touch, but there are other things that we can. So I think those are really my two answers without kind of going into the weeds there.
Yeah, it can always be difficult because I know there's times where we've been on really good teams and have awesome things to say, and then it gets shot down by a committee of, we're not allowed to talk about that.
Yes.
We need to talk about this.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right, and if we could give a hand to the students as well for their beautiful yearbook.
Thank you so much, Devin. My first yearbook was in Sanskrit. No, I'm just kidding. So on July 17th, right in this spot right here, I got to see this man present his gaming design that he was doing. And it was really fascinating because I'm sitting back there and all I could think about was how great the typography was. And I was really wanted to talk about it, but then thought to myself, I think that one day I'll have him speak at my Type Thursday event. And today is that magical day. So, an artist designer who shapes a colorful story with rich visual worlds. This is Eric Torres.
Thank you. All right, so thanks for having me here. And thanks for taking some time to come out and see some more things about type. I don't know how I follow Devin and Dustin, but I'm going to try to do you proud. My name's Eric. I grew up in Tolleson, Arizona, which is just a short, 30 miles from here, 20. And what I'm going to do is show you some of the very nonsensical sorts of things I do with type. First, a little bit about my efforts on a day-to-day basis. I am a company of one. I sometimes have clients, and when I have clients, they are my one and only thing I'm focused on. And when I don't have clients, because sometimes clients don't need an artist or a designer or an illustrator, I make my ideas happen. So you'll see some of these today. I'm here to grow, and as long as I keep that mindset, I can shut out a lot of the crap that goes on in the world and try to keep a good head on my shoulders. And I learned from a mentor early in my career that clients and people are not always right, but they do come first. So I try to keep those things in mind, and it is hard these days. It is really hard, but we keep trying. In about 2007, I used these shapes to create a fictional world. Now, this quick presentation isn't about that, but in one example, I can show you that I used those shapes to make this typeface for World of Renaga. And Renaga was a project that included books and a card game, poetry, it included zines, it included events, I did gallery shows, etc. All on the backs of this Art Deco inspired typeface that I came up with using these shapes. I later created a card game, and I followed suit for Iconica. I set those letters myself using those shapes and spent way too much time trying to suss out the geometry until I got it to a place where I was good with it. I'm showing this is you can see some of it probably, but this is a screenshot literally of my artboard of where I got this on the table right now. I've been working on World of Renaga for many, many years. I'm now considering a new typeface treatment that is a hack and slash of BN Mishmash, which is this font typeface from, oh boy, I'm gonna forget his name now. I'll think of it, and after you can hassle me about it, because I'm in the moment forgetting, I'm spacing it. But using this typeface, what I like to do is get it on in Illustrator, and I like to modify it heavily. And I'll use those as starting points. I really like right now, I'm liking the relationships between the A's, how they're both leaning in and holding the G. And I like that the R pays homage to what I've done in the past, but in a possibly a new way. And I like some of the kind of front and back of those letters that gives it a little bit of dimension in a subtle way. But I may scrap all this and not use it. I don't know. It's just where I'm at right now. I also do a lot of hand lettering and fresco, so a lot of what you're going to see, you guys, is very imperfect. If you look closely at some of these vectors, they are all sorts of imperfect, but from a distance, they look pretty sharp. I was talking to someone before this presentation about the fact that when you're in Fresco or you're in Illustrator, these are math-based programs that are using line work to create these images. So the tendency is to try to stay perfect with everything. And I'm really trying to break that tendency because I have that after working in Illustrator for so long. I released a card game recently. I took this typeface called Rocky Condensed, and again, I modified it, which some of those details may not be visible, but the V, I kind of took a slice off the edge of the serif there, and then I just played around with some of the spacing and some of the way that these feet on the E and C show up. Those were not necessarily in line. Again, the C and the E, the little, I call them fangs because I don't know all the technical language, so I make my own language up. But the E, the C, and the T, I try to do something pleasant with those. But this was a recent project of mine that I just completed. And this card game, it includes a lot of typography, but I'm mixing it with a lot of hand-drawn, very, very esoteric imagery in the cards. So this zine has like the rules, but it also has pages and pages of typography, codes that I've illustrated, stuff we don't have time to really look at today. A latest project of mine is called Bug Chums. This is probably the one that's most nearest and dearest to my heart at the moment. In 2023, or 2022, I lost my brother, but him and I grew up with a huge nerdy passion for bugs and collecting them and finding them in our desert backyard in Tolleson. This project has gone on to be something very, very close to me because I'm going to be exploring a lot of typography, but it's all hand-drawn, again, using what I can in Fresco to generate these letters. I'm not starting with any typefaces. I don't have any fonts that I'm necessarily modeling these after. I just do a lot of like tracing and retracing of original lines that I've made to try to get to some, good-looking characters. Don't look at all the height right here. If you don't like height, don't look at that stuff. But this is just an example of usage with a typeface called Omnis that is being used. But I do then go on to use these big hero typefaces that I make as kind of text as graphic, and you guys know all about that from other stuff. I'm going to be using a lot of hand-drawn typography and letters to kind of hide Easter eggs in the cards. So these will be game cards. This art is blown up for the purposes of trying to help you guys to see it, but there's going to be all sorts of little messages in the cards. Some things that are more dark humor, other things that are just sort of whimsical. I run a doodling group that is operating here in the Valley. I show up at different places, coffee places, cafes, and we draw for a couple hours. And this is kind of some of my process to come up with what would end up being kind of the final letter forms. But again, it's a refinement process. You guys know how this works, right? It's like tracing, retracing. You know, the game comes on. Okay, while the game's on, I'm gonna retrace again and see if I can get this to look a little bit more like these letters are moving or like they fell in this position. Paying homage to some of the stuff I grew up with, like the Bloodhound game, PBS shows, you know, other stuff I would watch. Sesame Street had some great animations back in the day. So this is stuff I'm trying to like pull from my history and bring it forward. Sorry, I'm trying to hurry. I don't want to take up too much time. I've always wanted I know this is kind of stupid, but I've always wanted a biker jacket with a big patch on the back. So if I have anything to say about it, one day I'm just gonna make for myself this thing. I'm gonna have a patch on the back of my jean jacket or something. But I just like to see the stuff that I make come to life in a material way. And I know we love the apps, we love video games, I love digital games as well, but tabletop games and the use of these elements in print is very important to me, and it's something that I try to keep going. This is a coloring book I'm working on. It won't be out for a number of months still. It's called Hyperlight Slice. It is a coloring adventure, and there is going to be tons of type hand illustrated and hand written painstakingly in my iPad. And I don't know about you guys, but I have way too many files in my iPad. I don't know if have you ever made so many files in a program you get scared? Like that's how I felt about Fresco a few times, and so far Adobe hasn't messed me over, but I don't take it for granted. A lot of black and white nonsense going on with the lettering, but like, again, I'm trying to pack these pages in. They're gonna be 10 by 10 sheets or 11 by 11 square sheets, a very non-traditional sort of piece, but I want the typography to be fun to color in, and so it's gotta be big. It's gotta be more than just an 8 by 11 or something like that. Right now I'm using AI to learn how to write better, so I'm having it check, for instance, the fictional things that I make up, words, proper names that I make up. I don't want them to be naughty words in German or some other language, so I'm putting them through AI to rinse that kind of stuff and hopefully avoid any unintended messages. But I'm using typefaces to my advantage, because I think as a vector artist, we have the ability to use those tools, hand drawing tools, to create things that can't just be generated. So there's this artist that I recently got turned on to. Her name's Aria Wells. She goes by Green Tea Pen. This quote in one of her songs just kind of like shook me when I saw it. Like I had to stop and think about this phrase for a minute. There are no insecure masters, and there are days when I am not very, I don't live this very well, but it's something to aim for. And I think it's a great reminder of the craft all of you guys can bring to your work, that if we believe in what we're doing, we can master it to whatever degree. And tonight we've seen great stuff from Dustin and Devin and the crew that came with him. I'd like to talk to more of you guys after this, but I think this is a great reminder of what we should all try to aim for. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Do you just want to do general discussions?
Yeah, if you guys have any critiques, if you have anything that you think could be better, I'm all open, I'm all ears. Good, bad, and different. Hard questions, easy questions, whatever.
Yeah, so you said that you use AI to double check that you don't have anything like naughty. Have you found anything?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question. Please tell.
So Spanish isn't my first language. Is not my first language. I am what they call thoroughly domesticated, but my parents grew up using Spanish to talk between themselves and hide the cookies, basically, from 7 kids. So you would think, though, that over the years I would have become very aware of the spellings of some of these naughty Spanish words. Nope. And apparently I still spaced it, and there is one word in one of my books that I don't need to say because I'm too shy of a guy that way, but I think the thing is that when it represents a male genitalia and I wrote something and I'm not thinking of that, it really hurts, because it's like, I should know better than this. I should have caught this stuff, you know what I mean? And as a designer, as an artist, you think that sometimes you're so close to your work that you don't catch the very obvious. And it was such an embarrassing thing, because then I had an aunt tell me, do you know what this word means or could mean to some people in slang? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And I learned. And that was about now 15 years ago. And so now having the opportunity to use these tools to like catch things that I don't know what something means in German or Greek or another language, I think it's a huge benefit to artists and authors all around to use stuff like that to help refine our work and help us catch those unintended messages.
Can you go back to your very first slide with all those shapes?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then the next one with the
Rhinaga, yeah.
I'm failing to see how you use those shapes to make those letters.
Yeah, so overlaying them in Illustrator and using multiplication or the multiply effect, you can see the pass-through potential of like getting a certain, when I multiply that, or I put that over and then I multiply, I get a negative shape in there, or a positive shape, and all of a sudden I can get to a letter form that comes up with this R. So this R, or I'll take this Y for instance, it's made using the top of this here and kind of backing that out. I should have put in more slides to show the progression, but all of the letters, they're not complex letters. They're blocky at the end of the day with some angles and a couple curves, but they were able to be made out of these shapes. Actually, only about 4 of them were used to create all of those letters. You know how when you overlay and then you knock out shapes or divide, you get residual, line work and geometry. So that's how I ended up crunching it down to those shapes.
Everything is based off shapes in the end.
Yeah, totally.
The way that Rhinaga is like designed and the wording, it's very fitting. Just for the design itself, it's very fitting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I don't have a lot of art from it that I'm showing, but all the art was also, and maps were generated using those shapes as well. So
can you talk a little bit about your hand lettering endurance and like what it takes to do that much?
Oh man. Well, I first had to learn, and all of us needed a bunch of do-overs because of 2020 on different things, but like during that time, one of the things it forced me to do was commit to digital art. And I was very like standoffish on it for a long time. Like, okay, I know the iPad is a tool. I know people are using it. I know the industry's wanting, creators to use it more because it makes file management easier for them. So 2020, 2021, I started bringing in a lot of my artwork onto the iPad and trying to get used to drawing on that surface. Well, then a lot of these screen protectors came out that added like some tooth to the pencil so that it felt a little more like paper, and that really helped out a ton. So even now, I find myself going back and forth, redrawing, draw it again. It's a very Mr. Miyagi sort of practice you end up in, and you stop and you're thinking, man, I'm developing memory in how tight and how zoomed in to be. Sometimes it's easier to zoom out and draw a circle than to be zoomed in. So I've learned that over time because drawing circles is is hugely challenging on a slick surface, even with those protectors on there. So I don't know if that makes sense, kind of rambling, but.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's just, yeah. I mean, I think there's endurance in any kind of design, but I think hand lettering, especially at that level that you're doing it at, it takes a lot of focus.
Yeah, and now it's a little maddening when I try to draw with a pen and ink, because it's not the same feeling.
Oh, okay. What do you prefer?
It's almost gone back the other way.
Like, prefer the digital?
Right now, yeah. Like, I feel there's things I can do with that ink, the digital ink, that I can't do with traditional. So.
Does anybody have a question? I got one more. Okay, go.
Can you sit down for this? I'm too tall. First of all, I want to say that your designs remind me of Cartoon Network, and I love it, especially that one. One cartoon that I absolutely loved ever since I was younger. No, it's not Dexter's Laboratory. It was Powerpuff Girls. That reminds me of Powerpuff Girls. My main question is, do you sell like merch with like your designs? Because I would be super interested in like taking this, because I travel all the time. I would take pictures of this when I'm in Ireland or Germany and be like, hey, like your stuff is going international. Like this stuff is really fun. I know you said you wanted to do a big jacket with that design on it. Can you save me one as well? Because that's awesome.
Yeah, we can talk. I make one-off stuff for people all the time because I have a shop, but one of the things about managing my online shop is that you'll get people who say, I want a shirt. So you make 10 shirts and 2 people buy them, and then you're sitting on shirts. So what I learned like about 20 years ago was, you know what, make everything in small batches. And over time, it's really been great because now I can do one-off commissions for people. I've done them for pets. I've made stuff. I've made a whole like animation package for someone's pet, and they took all the assets and did whatever. So yeah, to answer your question, I do have a shop. I do have merch that I offer, but at the end of the day, everything I'm doing, I'm trying to do it like I want to stay married, so I can't turn my house into a whole warehouse. So I make it in small batches and one-offs, and yeah, I've had a lot of good experience doing that.
Thank you.
I think Claire has a question.
You talked about using both Fresco and Illustrator for the type, like when you're drawing, and I was wondering which one you like. Because you talked more about using Fresco, and I was wondering what the differences you found, or which one you might prefer for one thing versus another thing.
So Fresco is very free form. You know, if I was up here doing a demo, it would be so free form, like the lines just flow. Illustrator is still to me so technical and so point based, and like everything I do in Fresco, there's points involved, but there's not strokes. So when you export that PDF, it's like you've laid down digital ink. I mean, there's mass to that line. It's not a stroke that you can then edit like Illustrator. So to answer your question more directly, I prefer Fresco, and I don't tell Adobe how scared I am of losing access to Fresco some nights, but I use Fresco almost exclusively, and then I'll bring that image into InDesign, and in some cases, after I've converted the color language of that image, I'm using it right out of Fresco, and it goes onto the printer. So I've almost in some cases cut out the need for Illustrator. But if I go back to work like this, and I'm doing more of this very clean line work, I'll be spending more time in Illustrator for this stuff, for sure. Did that help, Claire?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like lettering versus like the freeform drawing.
Yeah, yep.
Can you go back to your doodle word mark real quick? I just thought, I told, go to the orange version, the big one, that one. So I told Emerald, negative space guy. You see where the C and R connect? That, I think you have some opportunity for some really cool, to do something with that negative space. Because right now it looks like a golf club or a pipe or something. But We don't really know what it is because it's not anything right now. But I think since it's a doodle crew, I think I just see some opportunity there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. You know, like there's these little pieces that are hanging off of like the G and the W, and there's some of that stuff that I was tempted to like cut off, square it off, you know, and I think as you do more of this in your own projects, if you do lettering or if you get into it over time, one thing I would go back and tell myself is stop trying to be so perfect and let some of those little things stay. It looks more fun, you'll have more fun because you're not worrying so much about everything being so efficient and cut mathematically, but yeah, so.
Makes it friendly.
Okay, hopefully the Adobe gods don't come after me, but have you experimented with Procreate?
So, no, but I've experimented with Affinity, and Adobe, I hope, is concerned, because if next year they come out with that iPad app, like they're saying they're gonna for Affinity, I'm going to be seriously considering that. And all this competition is good for us, right?
Oh, it's great for us.
Yeah.
And, you know, not my day job, but I illustrate comic books.
Okay, yeah.
So I do a lot of, for like all the sound effects and stuff like that, I hand letter all that in Procreate. And the thing is you can draw a circle and it will automatically make that circle and then give you points that you can adjust. It does the same thing with lines, and it's very fast and efficient.
That's awesome.
And it blows Fresco away on the iPad. I'm sorry.
And does it do that in vectors? Does Procreate have ability to do vector line work, or is it mainly pixel based?
It's pixel based, but then you can take it into Illustrator and make it magically vector.
Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, that's a good question, though.
Yeah, that was going to be my point, that Fresco supports vectors. It's probably your easier path to Illustrator if you want to do something vector-wise, put it up there. But you're right. And as long as Procreate's around, Fresco will be around. So
Yeah.
So I am definitely going to gush here for a few minutes, if you don't mind. If you haven't noticed yet, there are so many like little Easter eggs within this. If you notice the doodle, do you notice that they're eyes? They're the eyes of the snail. So if you, you told me about this, but if you go back.
I don't want to correct you, because you do not need correcting. It's just that I think I mentioned that these were the skateboard wheels.
Skateboard wheels, sorry. I got that wrong.
Yeah.
Go back. But I did notice that the snail was on that G. You experimented with that.
I experimented, yeah.
And it's also on the in the middle, second to left.
There's some different, that's why I left the G off, and there's a whole story behind that I don't need to go into right now, but like, I've left it for different versions in case I wanted to play around with that. I don't know, like this is a whole other chunky G that I had there, and then this one it's more of a shell. The lowercase, you know, I liked it, but I also like just defacing kind of the whole thing.
That's exactly what I was just going to mention next. Now, this is why iteration is so important, because that looks like, you know, when you draw on the table, you know, and you etch it in there. That's something that I wouldn't even thought of. But through iteration, it makes total sense, and that may not be useful for this, but it could be useful for something else. And I also want to gush over another thing. If you go back, I think it was to the maybe back a little bit more. Yeah, escape. So I don't know if it was intentional or not. Were you meaning to use the hearts in the E's and the P, the counter of the P?
A little bit in the E, but I didn't really mean like see that in the P.
Yes.
But I wanted this stuff, like a lot of my work is static, frankly. Like I love the animations that Dustin showed, and there's so much about that that I'm like, oh man, I could gush about that. So we got this thing going, but a lot of what I'm trying to do, because I'm not an animator at this point, is I'm trying to make type that looks like, did it just move? Like you don't know if it just moved. It might have just moved. So that maybe someday when it moves, people won't be surprised, oh, of course it's moving. But for sure, there's a way to like build some of those sort of stories into what we're doing. And I think that's the cool thing about the tools we have now. Some of the best, my favorite artists are taggers. They actually, they kill. I mean, they slay that stuff. And that lettering that they come up with, it'll just blow your mind if you look at some of their work. But like, that's the kind of stuff that I admire, and I'm trying to like hint at some of it if I can.
Right.
In my own way.
In my travels, when I was in Japan, I saw a whole bunch of type treatments that used the counter so well. And it was something that I knew of, but I'm like, when I saw it in play and saw it like that, and you use your counter so well, and it's just a negative space. I mean, a lot of people will just leave it alone and just be like, okay, whatever the type gives me is what it is. But just that little thing, and especially in branding design, that's what I do all day. So seeing those little Easter eggs in there, it's that extra level of meaning within your lettering. And it's amazing.
Thanks so much. It's super fun. I hope that shows. Like, if anything, I want you guys to see that like having fun with this stuff is okay. I know like some people view it as cringy or whatever, but like I want to let that shine. You know, this is the energy we bring to our stuff. And I was telling, me and I were talking, it's like AI isn't going to generate your energy. So whatever energy and spirit you're bringing through your work, that's what's going to make a difference in the years to come. So, yeah, whatever.
Hey, we're not excited about our work. How can anybody else be, right?
Yeah, I guess, right? It's like, it's true.
Anybody else?
Hey, Casey.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
It's always good to see you. Shout out to Vector Interplay, by the way. It's really good. It's a really good game. Can you go back to the slide with both the Bug Ruckus and Bug Chums on the same slide? I just wanted to ask, because I know that Bug Ruckus is sort of a new game that you're in the creating stage of it right now, but even through the like handwritten typography, I can see how it's similar to Bug Chums, like it's in the same family, but it's also got its own style. So I was just wondering, in terms of game design, for when you're trying to build the style of the game, what usually comes first for you? Is it more of the illustrations, or is it more of these hero titles that come first?
Yeah, for me it's been the name, and the name kind of inspires everything then that comes along with it. So it's just like back in the day when I was partnering with people in-house and we were working on a project together, I'd be with the writer, and a lot of times the writing dictates your images, right? So I think it's a similar thing happening here. Tabletop games are, first, there are so many. There's a tabletop game for every genre you guys could think of. But what's important in tabletop game design is that every expression, if it's under an umbrella brand, has a different identity, because that's what's going to help differentiate it on a shelf. Well, my shelf is my shop. I don't really have stuff in retail. I'm still too indie for that. But right now, what I can do is try to make these things look like brother, sister, or sister, brother, or whatever, that they are related, but they're not necessarily the same thing, so that patron, when they're looking, they can get used to a different identity with a specific game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it does start a lot of times with the naming, and then getting out, what could this look like? How would that copy look? What characteristics should the letters have? For Bug Ruckus, it needed to look sort of swashy and like it had some motion, whereas for Minimart, I wanted it to look very, very much inspired by Japanese kanji characters, but in a bubble form, like you might see in an actual shop, mini mart or whatever. So yeah. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, I love hearing about the philosophy behind that. So thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks so much,
Eric. You're awesome, man.
My name is Raul. I love illustration, so I feel like you just mentioned something about like a doodling club.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to find like these type of people, these type of spaces here. I'm not from here, obviously. So being able first to be around like creative people and be just surrounded by ideas, I think that just like feed you with all those things, right? Second of that, now that you're into all these, I would love to hear like what's all these things, because you mentioned about having like a shop, having like your own stuff. Should be.
Yeah, thanks, Raul. There's a lot to. Sometimes I feel like I'm trying to explain something that is just like there's too many things that I'm going to start rambling off, and I always fear about rambling. So let's talk after, because I can show you. I can tell you guys, everyone, that Daring Doodle Crew is open to everyone. There are no dues, and I meet once a month somewhere. And then I do a virtual thing. So, and that's once a month too. And people join in, it's on Zoom or whatever, and we just draw, we have snacks or whatever, and chat, and we work on our own things and kind of just keep each other encouraged on their projects. But in person is great too, because it's times like these where we get to connect with people who are our people and encourage each other to keep going and whatever we got happening. So yeah, we can talk some more afterwards. Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you listening.
Let's hear it for our three speakers tonight. Outstanding. We are very lucky to have so many talented people here that will speak. So thank you. We will be back in January. We're taking the holidays off. So happy holidays to everybody. If you're not following us on Instagram, shame on you. Please do it. We need all the support we can get. And please tell a friend, bring a friend. And we will see you in January. Thank you for being here tonight.